After working on movies like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm gonna be reanimating this scene that I animated 8 years ago when I was just a fan, but now as a professional. When I animated this spectacular Spider-Man animation, little did I know that it would actually unlock the doors to the industry for me. This ambitious yet clearly unfinished animation was in my demo reel when I first applied to Framestore. Getting hired at Framestore as an animator allowed me to work on many amazing movies, but most importantly Spider-Man. This animation was also the first animation that got me some YouTube audience. Since I owed both my professional animation career and my YouTube animation career to this animation, I wanted to pay it homage by redoing it, but now as an industry professional animator. Usually I start my animations by making a storyboard first, because I love having an excuse to just draw. But for this animation it wasn't needed because I already had a close to previous quality animation made by the past Sarp. I wanted to keep the spirit of the old animation, but I didn't want to bring in my old mistakes with it. One thing I did decide to keep was the environment, because I had originally designed it to be this like Spider-Man sandbox where there was a lot of things to climb on, a lot of things to swing from, pipes and pillars. It was already what I wanted. But when it came to Spidey, I wanted to do something different. As I was animating this, the venomwar comic had came out, a very disappointing comic book that came at a very disappointing era in 616 Spider-Man. If you don't know much about Spider-Man comics, this was the Paul era. It's just like, oh my god, I don't need to know anything more than that, just skip it. But I love the idea of a symbiote Spider-Man with chains, so I kept the suit. I asked Berai from our lovely community to whip me up an awesome venomwar texture. Then I went to Carl Figgins' store and got the free web rig that I use for almost all my animations and wrap deformed my chain mesh on top of it and instantly achieved good enough. Or the animation style. When I made this spectacular Spider-Man animation originally, Spiderverse hadn't come out yet, but I knew Sony was working on an animated Spider-Man project. I wanted to make it cartoony and stylized in hopes of matching their style. It was complete luck that my unfinished stepped blocking pass would end up resembling Sony's brand new animation method of working on twos. This time around, I wanted to change things. I had learned so much about how to make realistic animation working for visual effects, and I wanted to showcase that. Maybe in the future I'll redo this again, but with a more stylized approach like the Spider-Verse style. If you would like to see that, let me know. If you like this breakdown and want to see more breakdowns or more animations from me, please like and subscribe, it helps me tremendously. Leave a comment, I read all the comments. One of the coolest things in visual effects animation is always keeping the inertia and momentum of the characters in mind while we move things. This results in us finding new and interesting poses that fit the character's momentum perfectly. I let this approach take the wheel and it resulted in a lot of changes in posing. But I tried to keep the spirit of the original by trying to replicate as many similar motions as I could. One of the biggest challenges in this animation was that it's what's called a oneer. Like the shot from Deadpool and the Wolverine. It's one long uncut shot that goes on for a long time. Or the shot from Oldboy. These shots are very difficult to do, but they're great for creating a feeling of continuity. It's so easy to throw in these like extra actions and like big ideas when you're blocking it out, but that kind of approach, if you like keep adding more and more and more, usually ends up with you not finishing the animation. Looking at you, half of my Discord community. To be fair, the reason I had this beat was just to show that I can do a weight lift, which is something that companies look for in the reels of new animators. So it was a bit of a shoehorned in animation exercise. But remember this, because this is when I made a mental note to make sure I add something like this to this shot. Terror, destruction, robots flying around, Brooklyn Bridge is on fire, Avengers of Fire. I like making a voiceover script in my head when I'm thinking of camera layouts. So for example, this section would say, look, the lizard is here and he's about to get hit by Spider-Man. And I basically cut to the chase with that idea. I framed lizard first, I framed where Spider-Man's gonna be, and bang. The idea is like trying to animate the audience's attention. It's like almost telling them, look here now, look there now, bam. It's like animating the voiceover, but without the actual voiceover. I also tried adding details that will make my life way more difficult, like making Spider-Man grab Lizard's mouth as he's swinging by, but I thought I owed that to the 8 years ago Sarp, who managed to do this animation without any prior visual effects experience. I wanted to show him what we can do now. This next section is my second favorite beat in the whole animation. This is the point where the audience thinks that was a nice animation, wait, it's still going on? And that is done by revealing the depth underneath them, where the camera turns down and we start falling with the characters. I had to break this down into what I needed to really see here. Throw lizard down, slam him with both feet, yank him back up, punch. When he slams down on lizard, it cracks open a new level of depth in the scene. I trailed lizard to the left of the pipe and Spider-Man to the right of the pipe. That allowed Spider-Man to carry his momentum down the tunnel and gave a more realistic reason for lizard to come back up to the camera. And look at that comic book cover punch. And now for my favorite beat of this whole animation. After watching Spider-Man like such a tight and claustrophobic tunnel, it feels amazing to see him enter this massive opening. It's like everything lines up in the animation and the environments, so you can just watch Spider-Man do some cool poses. When I originally made this, I was so proud of myself. I had the animation playing on my phone continuously on a loop all the time. Wherever I walked, I was just like watching my own animation, thinking like, this is great, this is great, this is great, this is great, and I almost got hit by a car once. I don't want anyone to be hit by a car, but I knew I wanted to recreate that amazing feeling of like just watching Spider-Man do some cool stuff. Working in Spider-Man Far From Home, I had learned a lot about making characters do complex rotations and spins. I applied all I learned for this part, which led to us reuniting with the lizard. I think this was the weakest part in the original animation, because he just pulls lizard off camera with one arm and throws it exactly to where he wants to be. And it felt like just too easy and felt a bit like too cheap. Even with the symbiote suit, I couldn't justify him being like that ridiculously strong. I don't know how I thought this was okay after showing how difficult it was for him to just lift lizard up earlier. But that reminded me of my earlier promise of showing a weight lift. I wanted to show the full weight of the lizard, then I had the idea of grabbing the lizard by the tail so we could like see him struggle trying to turn around. But that required a different rig because the rig I had was never meant to do that with his tail. So when we had a new rig, I had to go back and do all the previous animation again. And then I had the idea that I could like spin around him so it would like tackle and fall, and then kind of like a chain coming up. Then I thought like, why don't I do one chain? I could do like a bunch of chains and it could like jangle around there. And then that's when the time ran out. We can always make these animations like cooler and add more ideas and like change something and do something different and keep adding and adding and adding. But then I got a reality check. When I make these animations, one of the most common comments I get is like, I should make my own movie, I should make my own series. Most of the time, someone even has a brilliant idea that I should do all of this for them for free. But let me invite you to my reality. This animation, and only the animation part, took me 3 weeks to do. And it wasn't just any 3 weeks. I took 12 days off work to be able to work on this. Animators usually get 20 to 25 days of holidays a year, so I took more than half my yearly allowance to do this. Not to go see my family, not to go to a holiday with my girlfriends, not to play that game that just came out that I really wanted to play, but just to do this animation. And this is only 22 seconds. This is a reality with the animation that a lot of people don't know. When you want to do it to a professional standard, it takes a really long time. In visual effects movies, sometimes we spend months and months and months on shots that are just 3 seconds long. As my holiday was coming to an end, my animation had to come to an end as well. I love animating. If I could, I would animate this sequence for years. I actually had an idea where he throws the lizard at the end, we would reveal there's actually more lizards, but they're not regular lizards, they're all venomized lizards. Then we would see like this epic fight with a bunch of venomized lizards fighting Spider-Man. There's no end. At some point you have to call it. Maybe one day I will redo this animation. I really wanted to sell the weight of the lizard shaking around here and resolving his weight up the chain. But instead, we're gonna just rip his tail off and slam him through where the shot will end. It's time to render. I'm a strong believer in specializing. As cool as it sounds to be able to do everything yourself, I feel like the end result suffers when you don't have a dedicated person for each task. If I had more time, I could do this exact same animation and then a bad render with it. But in reality, I would just do more animation because that's what my passion is, and that's what I think my time is worth the most. So in all my projects, I try to bring talented artists together. This animation, like many other animations, was rendered by the amazing Lucas Espedes. You can see more of Lucas's work here, and he did an amazing job as always with the lighting, rendering and the comp. I especially love the 2D spiderverse-esque pass that Lucas adds after rendering is complete in comp. These just look amazing and add so much to the world. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. Please consider subscribing, and if you like what you see here, you can give me any ideas you have about like what I should animate next in the comments. The next video is gonna be the breakdown of how I animated the Sandman video.